Hi, it's the underscore zero myth back again with a Legend of Ace tier list. You might know me better by my in-game name BL8, and I'm here with you all today to talk about the Sylph introduction patch. Sorry about the previous patch, the Hatori Masanori introduction patch. Due to me being studying for finals and my college courses, I wasn't able to get that out for you, but I'm going to try and cover as much as I can in this one. I might not be able to, I've been playing on the Hitori patch, so I might miss a couple of the stuff that was maybe important there, but I will give you guys all the information that you need in this patch to perform as well as you can. Anyhow, without any further ado, let's get on into the tier list. First, I'd like to go over my, I reset it up again. This time it's a lot simpler than it used to be. My S pluses are just the people that I think are OP. They need nerfs. My S tier are going to be just under that. They're just basically the people that you first pick. Like, if you have a choice, you'd want them. Your A tier is just going to be the generally strong. Your B tier are going to be the people that you have to main in order to get the most out of them. And your C tier are going to be your niche characters. They're good at one thing, but they aren't particularly good at anything else. And then my D tier are just going to be the bad characters. I also finally labeled my unsure of placement as you. I've got two of them there, but I'm also going to be placing them into the tier list as well. One of them is, of course, going to be Sylph. Anyhow, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I'd like to talk about the what I think is currently the meta. So this patch, I don't know if I talked about it in my previous tier lists, but right now we have the initial minions are less tanky. These are just your regular archers and your regular melee minions. They don't count the cannon minions or the destructor minions. Those have remained the same, so they are still just as tanky as they used to be, but the two basic types are now less tanky. Another very important thing that you need to know about is that the melee cleave has been removed. It used to be that when you swung with a melee character, everything that was in front of that would all be dealt the same damage. You would only ever get item effects like lifesteal to yourself applied once, but you would be able to crit everybody. You would be able to use all your max HP stuff on everybody. It was very useful. The fact that it's been removed for a single target focus is very, very important. I think that all of the melee characters have been, it's a drastic change. It definitely reduces the level of the melee carries that you will see now, like, very drastically. Just because even though they used to deal the damage and they used to have that tankiness, now they don't have the safety. Ranged characters have multi-shot now, they have range. There's nothing that a melee character can do anymore to actually hit multiple targets, which is what they used to be, like, really good at. Like, there's nothing that lets a melee character hit multiple targets now. So yeah, that's very impactful. As to the, like, sort of meta that I think is going on right now, I'd like to call it a mid-game meta. While the initial landing phase for, like, the first 5 minutes until you hit level 5 is very important, I would say that you still have some leeway to be a little bit bad. XP level rises quickly even if you fall behind a bit. It's still very, very important to get the first dragon, which usually happens in the first 5 minutes. So that's still very important as to who can, like, set the pace for the game, who can take over the game. But even if you don't get the first dragon, I still think that you have a chance in the mid game to pick it back up. The mid game is a lot longer than it used to be, in my opinion. That also means that like games can stretch on a little bit, but if you properly control the dragon, you will be able to end the games a lot quicker than you would otherwise. Anyhow, now that I've talked about the cleave and how the minions are a little bit less tanky, which helps with farming in the early game, I'm just gonna get right into the characters. As always, I am going to be putting Deny into S+ as my #1 character. Same thing as I've always been saying. She has very high damage. She has very high CC. A lot of her unique cards allow her to do many different types of things. She can res, she can CC you, she can take less damage. There's a lot of different stuff that she can do with her cards. She can deal true damage with her ice lances even. I just think that she's dreadfully overtuned. The only time that you're ever able to like actually shut a Deny down is if she has her cooldowns, like she's on cooldown. But if you build cooldown, which is what you should probably doing at least a little bit on Deny, you're never really going to have that problem. She's good all throughout the game. Anyhow, I'm going to be moving on to Beamon now. Where is Beamon? Jesus, this happens every time. There he is. Beamon has actually risen to my #2 spot in the game. The reason for this is I've been saying this entire time, but I've like slowly been like growing him in value in my mind. He just has a lot of burst damage. Like, he doesn't need to build power to have very high burst damage because he has max HP damage. This allows him to build very, very, very tanky and like not suffer any hits whatsoever to his damage potential. So basically, he's just a massive tank that is able to kill you. Like not exactly 100 to 0 you, but like I can guarantee that he will last long enough to get a second rotation off, and when that second rotation off comes, you will be dead. There's nothing you can do about it. If you take in any sort of poke before he gets his rotation off, he will kill you. It's stuff like that. He's just got a lot of like CC potential. You've got a lot of potential with your fuel carpet to like play around with that a little bit. And then just as always, he's really good for getting the first dragon, for just securing Void Pit, all that. His ult is very useful. After Beamon, I am going to be putting the one of the new characters, Hatori Masanori. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I don't care right now. Hatori Masanori did actually get nerfed in the Sylph patch, even though he was introduced in the previous one. This is because this guy has the single highest target damage that you can get in the game. I am not joking when I say that if he's like 1 or 2 levels above you, he will 100 to 0 you. Under 1 second, okay? Like, I'm telling you that you can blink and you will die. If he ever gets dragons, that just makes it so much easier for him to do his thing. Basically, you blink, you're gone. He also has like this invis potential. He has single target CC. But the key part is that he has very high chase potential and very high escape potential. In addition to that, his ultimate gives team-wide vision on the enemy team for about 8 seconds. I cannot express how good that is, okay? If you're ever worried about where the team's at and like what they could potentially be doing, Hatori has got you covered. You don't even have to really think about like where people are at in the game anymore, because you've just got a character that'll cover that for you. It removes like one less thing that you need to worry about. Also, his invisibility does help a little bit with dodging basic attacks. I would say that stealth isn't as good as it's cracked up to be, other than as a visual disturbance. But even as that, like, it's really, he just emerges from the shadows and kills you instantly, and it's very, very, very strong. Yeah. He's a monster early game. Especially on the first gank, because you won't see him coming, and if you've been trading with the enemy lane, and you both are like playing forward a little bit, like trying to pick fights with each other, he can take advantage of that so quickly and just snowball the game exponentially from there. After Hatori Masanori, I'm going to be putting Medusa. Where is she? Medusa will also be going into... Okay, wait. Not you. Medusa. There we go. Okay, so Medusa is going into my number 4 spot. Now that Odysseus has been nerfed, namely his Shadow Burst has been nerfed, it's been reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. I'll go over that more there. But anyhow, Medusa is probably the best ADC that you can play now. Simply put, she has not been nerfed in like years, is what it feels like. I haven't seen her in the patch notes as long as I've been playing. And basically, she's just got great pressure, she's got a lot of CC, she's got very high damage. You can either build her attack speed with her, with the like 5 snakes collapsing on one target. That's always good. Or you can build her crit. Or you can do like half and half between the two. It works either way. After Medusa, I am actually going to be putting Undarvi up into our OP tier. When I was talking about how Undarvi had a lot of potential to be stupid, that was very, very true. It's a lot like Beamon. He just builds full tank, you put Frenzy on him, so that he's got a little bit extra move speed and scaling damage, and he just bulldozes people. It's kind of ridiculous. He's just got very, very high base stats and very high base damage on his abilities and his auto attacks. Plus he's able to stun you. Every single part of his kit has CC attached to it. It's all good. Even though the cleave hurts him, it doesn't hurt him as badly. Oh, I should have mentioned that Beamon is primarily a jungler, but you can put him into solo lane or support. Same thing with Undarvi. After Undarvi, I'm going to be putting Hestia as my first pick for, your first picks. I wouldn't exactly call her as broken as any of the other characters, but her ability to one combo you is very, very strong. After her ability to one combo you, she's just got a lot of AoE in her kit. Plus her ultimate is able to reset if you time it properly. Usually you'll only ever be able to use it 2 or 3 times a fight, but that's still 2 or 3 or more people dead just due to her ability to lock people down, lock them in place. It's a lot more quick than what Deny is able to do, which is why she is the very first person that I would put into S tier. After that, I'm going to be putting Shipton into S as my number 7 spot. You would have never expected that. Shipton would rise up so high, and one thing that she is dead terrible at is wave clear. You cannot get a Shipton to wave clear to save your life, but in her ability to duel people, if you get Mantra and Frenzy on her, is insane. It's very, very hard to fight a Shipton that has Frenzy and boots, and she just stays just out of range. And then she's got the stun. It helps her a lot. Plus, Shipton's a healer. She's just got utility that way too. It makes her very dangerous in the early game, and then in the late game she can support her characters. She's got a stun to throw that out, and she's got team wide able to hit both teams with her ultimate. So I would say that it's very, very strong. You just need a little bit of practice on her. After that, I would be putting Teslin into S tier. Even though the cleave change hurts Teslin pretty bad, he still has a lot of AoE in his kit. I still think that the Lightning Flash card is very important to Teslin. You need that to perform optimally. But you have a lot of freedom outside of that to build what you feel is necessary. I would highly suggest Mantra and Lord Electric as well, just to help with your dashes. Like Lord Electric and the Flash card are absolutely necessary. I really like the Charging Eddy unit. That's also very good. Basically you pop everything, you appear in the middle of a team fight, it like half healths everybody, if not more, and you've done your job as Teslin. You can hit a full 5-man team with his combo. It's really, really good. After Teslin, I would be putting Achilles up into my S tier. Where is Achilles? Achilles. There you are. Achilles is going up into S as well. So when I said that he was the jack of all trades, master of none, as it turns out, being a jack of all trades means a little bit better than I previously thought. What I mean to say by this is that what you need to do on Achilles is definitely build him more damage oriented around like crit. And if you do that, the innate sustain and the innate tankiness he has in his kit with his passive that helps as his health gets lower and lower, it allows him to sustain far better than any other melee carry right now. In addition to that, the fact that he has this large AoE thing where you can't CC him, as he's using that to like damage you and crit you and do all of that and stick on top of you, plus he has a knock-up in his dash, it just makes him a very, very, very strong character. Achilles is very good. After Achilles, I'm going to be putting, where is she? Jeez. I cannot find these people to save my life. Okay, there she is. Mochizuki will be finishing up my first picks. After Beamon, I would say that Mochizuki is probably one of the best junglers in the game. There are a lot of people behind her, but the thing about Mochizuki that places her up so high in my mind is the fact that she is very easy to use, she is very safe to use, and if you build her so that she crits, her AAs hit very hard, and she's got this like potential to just deal very high damage with her abilities anyways. So yeah, Mochizuki is very strong. She's got reasonably fast clear, very safe. Plus all the resetting abilities makes her able to clean up team fights very easily, which is something that assassins usually can't do in the late game, but Mochizuki can do it like very easily. After that, and starting off my A tier, which is just the generally strong people, it's going to be Morrigan. Morrigan, I'm only placing below Mochizuki simply because Morrigan is a lot harder to use. You need more practice on her, especially with how her like kit interacts with her flying passive. That there's a lot of tricky stuff that you need to do. It's easier to mess up on Morrigan than it is on Mochizuki, but they can do similar things. Morrigan has very, very high burst damage. She's a great initiator. I would say that she's, very strong. She brings up the forefront of A tier. After that, I'm going to be putting Brynhild up into A. I believe that I said that Brynhild did not need the buffs that she got, so they actually reworked her and nerfed her this time around. Now her dashes do not go as far anymore, so her dash ability does not mean that she can close distance from across the frickin' lane, which is great. The other thing is that her ultimate passive no longer stacks HP and armor. It now stacks HP and attack damage. This means that it puts her more into an off tank than a full tank, or rather I would say it makes her squishier in the long run. It used to be that she could just build all damage and she would still survive a very long time. And I believe that one of her cards got reworked, Blessed Light, I think. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure how much of it got reworked, but that was one of the cards that you would really want to build on her, because it gave her CC immunity while she was doing her mighty blows. I don't know, I think she's been nerfed pretty hard, but I would still say that the knockups that she has, and the fact that she's still pretty much mobile, and she's still got a stacking technique, it still leaves her pretty high in my mind. I would have to play further into it to know if she actually needs to be dropped further, or if I just shouldn't have dropped her even that low. After that, it's going to be Deborah. There she is. Deborah is going to be just after her. I've sort of always paired the two together in my mind, as Deborah being the one that has more damage, but with the other thing that she is harder to use. Deborah just has a lot of burst damage in her first ability. The 3-part combo that can keep you CC'd is very strong. Her ultimate is very strong to just lock somebody in, or to lock teams in, or to do whatever you want. She's just harder to use. I would say that she's just solid. You'll actually see the bots run Deborah in the jungle a lot, and I think that helps her a little bit. I don't know how much it would help, but you know, it helps a little. After Deborah, I'm going to be putting Moryu. So I don't know, I think in my previous tier list I had Moryu at the very bottom, despite his rework, or no wait, something like that. But what they've done is that I don't know if they've actually fixed the mechanics of his skill 1, but his skill 1 is now CC immune. So when you would previously be interrupted as a Moryu as you were doing your spray and pray, you aren't anymore. That is a very, very, very strong change. Any sort of quality of life changes, or any sort of like massive buffs like this, you can get to Moryu skill 1. It will push him higher and higher into the tier lists. Right now, I would say that he has very high potential with his stun on his ult and his dash shield cards. With this buff on his skill 1, allows him to build damage, or like sort of off tanky, or like, you know, in the middle between there, and it just allows him to shred people. You have to play around your ult a lot, but this is not to say that his skill 1 is not dangerous. It is very, very dangerous. It can out DPS some marksmen, especially earlier on into the game. After Moryu, I'm going to be putting Odysseus. Odysseus is going into a... So I believe I touched on it earlier, but Odysseus had his Shadow Burst reworked from 5 seconds to 3 seconds in duration time, but they've compensated it with a from the 14 cooldown to a 10-second cooldown. What this means is he has it up more often, but it is not as impactful as it used to be. I don't know how much this is going to hurt him. He's still very safe. If you time your Shadow Burst correctly, it's still going to have that... You're not going to have it as long, but you're still going to have that potential to out-kite people. His ultimate is still strong. I still think that he's one of the best marksmen in the game. I just can't put him above Medusa anymore, and I don't know how much the Shadow Burst nerf is going to actually hurt him. He's still very, very strong, though. After Odysseus, I am going to be putting Oakley. Oakley actually got buffed this patch. I would say that Oakley is in a better spot. Her passive now grants more attack speed than it used to do. Other than that, I think she's been relatively unchanged, but any sort of buff that you can... Oh! She also got a buff to her base damage on her little flying star thing. That had a base damage buff, so it's still able to proc crit and all that. But now it just deals more damage, especially earlier on into the game. This means that it doesn't have as big of an impact late game, other than just, you know, proccing your passive, which like lasts for 4 seconds, I'd like to say. But in any case, any sort of help that you can get power Oakley through that early game to get where she's late game and she kills you before you can close the gap is always welcome. She's she's in a good spot right now, I think. I don't know if she'll move up or if she'll stay in A, but try out Oakley. She's in a good spot. After Oakley, I'm going to be putting, let's see, Penthesilea. So Penthesilea is going into A as well. So let's see. Penthesilea has good wave clear in her shield form. Even if she doesn't have the cleave effect anymore, it's still okay for her in her shield form. So she's still got like this wave clear potential that you don't exactly always get. The other thing is that she's an excellent duelist. She's able to 100-0 any squishy with very little counterplay as long as she gets in a couple spears first. Yeah, I would just say that she's got a lot of damage. I don't know if you would be wanting to build her a little bit more tanky now that she isn't able to deal as much damage to teams with her cleaves anymore. She still dies very quickly if you if you're the end gauge and you're engaging with your shield. I mean, it's good, it's okay, but since you build her more damage, it's a lot easier to die to a team as a Penthesilea. You usually don't want to be first engaged, you want to be like secondary engaged or something like that. Just you clean up everybody. It's Penthesilea is okay. After Penthesilea, I'm going to be putting Ogier. Okay, so what Ogier is able to do now is his passive is a lot more impactful for powering you through that early game. Now that it's a fixed rate instead of a percentage rate, it means that you gain levels a lot faster than the opponent does in those first 5 levels. This means that if you have early game champions on your team, an Ogier on your team will make sure that you get that first dragon. In addition to that, he still fulfills his role as a full tank that is able to completely protect his carry. Any assassins, as I've always said, you try to hop on the carry. Ogier's got he's got a stun for you. He's got healing for his carry. He's got shielding for his carry. His only problem is that he's immobile-ish, but that's alright when you see how tanky he is and how all that plays out, especially how good it is to have that XP advantage just doing nothing. After Ogier, I should probably be mentioning Sylph. Hang on. Okay, so, Jesus. There we go. Sylph I'm actually going to be putting into U. This is because she's new. So what I'm seeing on Sylph right now is that she is... What do you call it? Sylph has great utility and her ultimate is amazing. Plus it's on a very low cooldown. She's just, it's a lot like Shipton almost, except instead of a stun, you get a root that is 1.5 seconds instead of 1 second, and it hits a larger area. She just offers CC, shields, and heals through her passive, and then when she gets inside somebody with her ult, I think her cooldowns are reduced. I haven't personally tested her out yet, but I am very happy with how she looks. I'm only placing her in A for now. I would like to say that she is a lot better than that, but I just haven't had enough time to see if she isn't as good or if she's too team dependent to perform well. But her ability to hop inside of a carry and make them more tanky and heal them easier and have them have a massive, and I mean massive, attack speed boost. It's it's very, very strong. It kind of makes them unkillable for a little while. And 5 seconds is really all you need for a carry to just completely clean up a team fight. I'm only going to place her into U for now, but I would like to say that she would be like A tier or maybe S tier. I don't know yet. After Sylph, I'm actually going to be putting, let's see, where is he? Where is Olsen? There he is. Olsen is going to be finishing up my A tier. This is because of the interaction between Deathhorn and Present of Forgetfulness. Basically, whenever he dies, he'll pop Deathhorn, and then he's able to spin 3 times, and then he actually dies. But when he actually dies, that's when Present of Forgetfulness procs, and he comes back. To balance it out, I'm pretty sure that when you die the second time, Deathhorn does not pop again. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm not completely sure though. But anyhow, after that, he's just able to power farm because he has very high wave clear. He's got very high potential to clear jungle, and just Olsen overall has great damage and great survivability. After Olsen, I'm going to be starting B tier with Bellona. Let's see. So I think Bellona is a character that you need the main to get the most out of her. However, she's very simple to pick up. She's got very high damage. Her CC is pretty good. Her wave clear is great. My only problem with her is that she's immobile. I would say that it allows you to be caught out easier. However, I think I've said it before, but if you have a team backing you up, or if you're very far ahead, you can't really shut down a Bellona. She just has... her attack power scales up as she's fighting, and then she has a, like, 100% max level on her attack speed. Like, she just doubles her attack speed. It's nutty. Yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for much more from that with Bellona. Odysseus does a similar thing, for example. But Bellona just has more AoE. I don't know. Give Bellona a shot. I know that a lot of people already like her, but I mean, she's good. After Bellona, I'm going to be putting... Hang on a minute. No, yeah. After Bellona, I'm going to be putting Endor. Endor is going up into the A tier. No, wait, my B tier. The people that you need to main. The problem with Endor is that he's very immobile as well. A lot of the B tier is just going to be immobile characters, or they're going to have like some sort of drawback. But Endor has a lot of positives. You want to build him for his CC chain, which involves like Spectral Coil and stuff like that. All of that is very good on Endor. He's got a lot of CC. His stuff is Fire and Forget, which basically means that he's a very long range mage. I don't know, like, he works really well in just poking people down, in controlling team fights. There's a lot that Endor can do. I would just say use him. After Endor, I'm actually going to be putting Lyn. The nerfs to Lyn weren't as like impactful as you'd think when you first saw it. However, the nerf to his jumps really impacted him when it comes to like high level play. He still does the same thing when you're in the like middle of a team fight. However, the fact that you just get to see him rolling up slowly before he starts speeding up, and unless you got bushes to like help you out or something, it's just not as surprising anymore. It's not like he's suddenly dead center of your team, grouping you all up in the center. No, you get to see him coming now, and it makes him a lot more easy to be kited. This means that you want to build him more tanky than he used to be, because it used to be you used to just hop on people, ult, and then like auto them 3 times and they die. Because of all your crit and his passive and stuff, but I don't know. It's just not as good as it used to be. After Lyn, I'm going to be putting Loki. Loki is very hard to initially pick up, and the payoff isn't exactly great either. What he is able to do is have massive, and I mean massive, single target burst. If you build him correctly and you like use Warp Gate and stuff like that, with Joker Poker, Warp Gate and Joker Poker are probably one of the best cards, or like the best pairing that you could possibly run on him right now. I also like running Annihilation on him, and then I would say Master Poker, just to help you through that early game with the heals. Those 4 cards just make his single target like damage very, very high, and it gives him a little bit of wave clear. The cons to Loki though is that he is super squishy. He doesn't have a very high impact in team fights, and he has very low wave clear. Still, he's got crazy one-shot potential, and he's very mobile. So I mean, if you get good with Loki, you know, he has a lot of potential, which is why he's in B tier. After Loki, I'm going to be putting Heracles. Heracles is also going into B tier. I used to have him as the best character in the game, believe it or not. That was good times, you know? Back when he still had Cleave, back when, you know, people just didn't run, like, deny Hestia all game. But, you know, he still has the potential to like really break through games with his snowball potential, but he needs to snowball. I think at this point, especially since his cleave change is nerfed. His pros are still very good though. Like the fact that he's very tanky for how much damage he deals is still very true. It's just you aren't going to be able to clean up teams the way that you used to be. And I believe that he got nerfed pretty hard a couple, like, last patch, I think. They nerfed his, like, cooldown reduction on his ultimate. It went from 1 second down to 0.5 seconds. While that's pretty impactful, the fact that he's still able to, like, reduce his cooldowns as he's killing you is still strong. He just won't be able to completely reset it. Like, he won't be able to completely reset its cooldown as early into the game as he used to. You know, he's alright. He's alright. He just needs a lot of, like, a lot of help to get where he's supposed to be at. After that, I'm going to be putting, Hela. She has crazy one-shot potential, and she's an awesome ganker. Which means that, like, especially since her ult, I've gone over this before, but, like, it reaches, it's the longest range ult in the entire game. And it's almost instantaneous, which makes it really easy for her to engage or clean up kills or, like, steal dragon or anything like that. If you need to get into a spot or, like, kill somebody when they'd normally think that they'd be away, Hela will do it for you. Still, the problem with her is that she's very squishy. So even though that she has very high damage, once she engages with her dashes, you can kind of sort of kite her, especially since she wants to kill you as fast as possible. She'll usually be popping them all at once. So if you somehow manage to survive that, she's got to wait for her cooldowns to come off. Properly built, she will have some cooldown reduction, so she can chase or escape. But, I don't know. She just feels too squishy, and as an assassin in a late-game team fight, it isn't as instantaneous as a Hatori Masanori will do. So, I don't know. Take what you will from that. After that, I'm going to be putting Siren. Siren, I think, has the same problems as a lot of the people in B. She's just immobile. However, the fact that she's able to make somebody, like, invulnerable, if you pair, like, a Siren, a Sylph, and a Shipton, like, pick and choose, like, 2 of them between your team, and you've just got, like, a lot of utility to keep people alive. It's kind of, I don't know if that will become the new meta or not, but I will say that it's a very strong combination to have 2, like, full healing supports on your team, and then the rest of the people build, like 1 carry and then 2, like, heavy damage bruisers. Or like a mage and a heavy damage bruiser, stuff like that. Anyhow, on to Siren. So Siren has that ult immunity, which is very good. She has a darn good CC chain, but like I said, she's just too squishy and immobile. If you main her though, she'll put in work for you. She's very good for like making picks with her little attract thing, like her little taunt on her heart. After Siren, I'm going to be putting Media into B. I used to think that she was one of the worst characters in the game. I've started slowly putting her up a little bit. You don't see her played at all. But the fact that she has so many dashes and she is able to go immune in her ult as she's like dealing missing percentage like true damage, it's good. It's really good for like killing tanks. It's really good for killing anybody really, as long as they're low enough. Her problem is just that she's very squishy and she's very single target focused. The card that gives her a taunt is strong. It'll help. It'll definitely help you out if you're the secondary engage. Like if somebody like goes ahead and they absorb the CC and then you go in with your kit, you can deal a lot of damage. You can 100 to 0 people easy. But she's just very skill dependent and she's a little unsafe if you try to like do stupid stuff on her. Plus she's not very good from behind. Anyhow, after Media, I'm going to be putting Minotaur. Minotaur is going to be having a full tank is always going to be useful in some capacity. The only reason that I have Minotaur so low, to be perfectly frank, is that he just doesn't deal as much damage as the full tanks above him. Ogier is better at protecting people than Minotaur, but Beamon and who is it? Beamon and Undarvi? Yeah. They kind of fulfill the role of just being full tanks, but also dealing a crap ton of damage. So yeah, that's mostly the reason why Minotaur is down so low. If you like him, I mean, go ahead and play him. There's no like problem with that really, as long as you know what you're doing. After Minotaur, I'm going to be putting Takeko. So I used to think Takeko was really bad, but now that they reverted the changes to kills, and now they actually mean something now, it means that her early game, pushing her into mid game, is a lot better than it used to be. The key card that you want to get on Takeko, though, is Mysterious Array. While her base ultimate is very good for assassinating a person, and it makes her invulnerable, the amount of team-wide damage that you can get on Takeko by going Mysterious Array, I think, in my opinion, is a lot more helpful. You can still 100 to 0 people that way using the Mysterious Array. It's just you got to use it first instead of last compared to the base ult. I don't know. It gives you a little bit of visual confusion when you see a Takeko until you like basic attacker or something, so that you know which one of the shadows is the real her. I don't know. She's a bit better than she used to be. The next person that I'm going to be talking about is actually Amante, and she is going into you. I have no clue what to do about this character or where to place her. She still has the same strengths that she used to have. Her double dash into ult is always going to be strong. But the fact of the matter is that as a melee carry, and just how clunky she is, it just makes it very hard. Like the cleave changes hurt her pretty bad because she doesn't have very high wave clear. I don't know. Like she can get, even though that her ult makes her go invulnerable, and the fact that her attack speed steroid cleanses CC, she's still very squishy. And if you screw up on Bradamante, you will die almost instantly. She's very similar to assassins in like tankiness level is how I feel about it. So like you need to be building her damage, you need to be doing a lot of stuff right with Bradamante in order to get the most out of her. But the fact of the matter is that she's just clunky. I don't know if they're going to like fix it, like stealth fix it like they sometimes do. Like a lot of the stuff that happens in patches don't always get put in the patch notes. Maybe one of these days that kind of treatment will happen to Amante, but until then I don't really know what to do with the character. After that, I'm going to be starting my niche. Hang on, it's happening again. Alright, there we go. My niche is going to be starting with Flora. Flora, I think, is... Okay, so Flora has a very, very obvious weakness. She genuinely can't move. Okay, so that's her big weakness. It makes her to where if you ever position yourself improperly, you die. And there's very little you can do about it. However, the thing about Flora is that she is very tanky and she deals a very high amount of damage, in addition to having like a team-wide ult and a pull. I think I was thinking a little bit wrong previously about where Flora was supposed to be. She is definitely a niche character, but one of the things that you cannot call her is a marksman. I don't think Flora has enough auto attack damage or is consistent enough in playstyle to warrant being the marksman in a team. However, as like this tanky, like sort of like off tank mage AoE person that just deals a bunch of damage and has really high potential to like clear objectives or like towers or clear wave or anything, Flora is there for you. But it's very easy to screw up on her if you ever plop yourself down into your rooted form in a bad spot. Like you die quick. But after Flora, I'm going to be putting Edict. So I think this meta really supports Edict, because what Edict does is he bullies the hell out of you early game. So I mean, like, you can't damage him and he damages you, and then like whenever you want to damage him again, he can just like use his poke on himself to like heal back up technically. Basically he's just got a lot of poke damage. He's got a lot of potential to just trade with you for free using his shielding. And into the later stages of the game, he can still... He doesn't deal as much damage as a regular marksman, okay? You've got to play around the idea that he's a zoning character, like a zoning mage, like a mage off-tank that has like heavy-hitting basics. He's a very interesting character is what I'll say. I don't think that he is the worst character in the game, but I don't know if he appeals to everybody, and it's like hard to explain him properly in a tier list. I feel like you'd need a guide in order to do that, but one of the things that I feel like helps Edict out a lot is having high cooldown reduction and having the Living Water, I believe it's called. It's the mid-game card that allows you to heal missing HP as long as you have a shield up. That card was handmade for Edict. Yeah, I mean, he just becomes this like weirdly, he deals high damage, but then he's got like enough, like a lot of HP so that you can't really one-shot him in a usual combo. I mean, he still dies in team fights, don't get me wrong. But in that early stages, he's just really able to like shut somebody out of the game entirely. After Edict, I'm going to be putting Arjuna. I used to think that Arjuna was really bad. However, if you build him crit and you abuse his range, it makes like his poking potential that much better. Because once you get hit by like a single bolt from like a mile away, you don't really want to approach anymore, especially when it deals like around 1k damage. It makes you think twice about trying to fight him. And then if he's got like his ultimate up, sometimes he can just kill you in his ultimate. The thing that you really want to be picking Arjuna for though, is not for his carry potential, but rather for his insane early game. A lot like Edict, Edict is able to do his stuff because he has ranged abilities as well as innate tankiness, but Arjuna just like, if you give red buff to him, Arjuna just has like this potential to just like hit you 3 times and you die early game. All of his like abilities are really like far range. He's kind of like the bona fide sniper of the game, but this makes him very immobile, which is his main weakness. If he gets collapsed on, he's got nothing but like a stun on his ult that's like situational. So he just dies very quickly if he gets collapsed on. But if you're able to keep them at a reach, or if you're able to like pick your fights, Arjuna's got a very good place in the game. After Arjuna, I'm going to be putting Elros into niche. I think Elros will always be a niche, in my opinion, just because of how tricky his skill shots are to land. The more important thing that I think when talking about Elros is just if he's been like buffed, like his usability at all, or his damage or anything. And I wouldn't say that anything in particular has changed for Elros. He's still got the same problems. He's immobile. To get like a full one-shot combo, you have to get too close for comfort. The quality of life changes in the previous patches definitely helped him a lot. Being able to pop his passive on 2 hits instead of 1 is very good. Or 2 hits instead of 3, my bad. I don't know. Like, Elros is okay, but easily killed, in my opinion. So, anyhow, after Elros, I am going to be putting Thanatos into my C tier. Thanatos is going into C. The problem with Thanatos is that he has very high damage, but he's clunky and he's very slow. The fact that he's able to like put the stealth down and like avoid auto attacks does not really apply in a team fight where abilities are being popped everywhere, so you're gonna die either way. But as that like that mid-game ganker that's just able to like just appear out of nowhere and kill somebody, like clean up when they wouldn't expect it, that's what Thanatos does. He doesn't do it anywhere near as good as Hatori does. But he's got like some cute little mechanics that you can do. My main problem with him is that he's very slow. Like, he does not move around fast, he doesn't have a dash, there's nothing that you can really do to like help him with that. But his damage is very good, especially since part of it is like true damage. It makes cutting through tanks a lot easier in the early game. Stuff like that. I just wouldn't like value him as high just because his early, like his very first jungle clear sucks. Unless you've got somebody leashing for you, it's just really hard to push Thanatos up. You really have to like either sacrifice a Thanatos or you have to sacrifice a laner to really get Thanatos into the game, really. I don't know. After Thanatos, finishing up my niche is going to be Morgan. Hang on. Go in there. Okay. So Morgan is going to be finishing up my C tier. This is because Morgan is, I don't know. She's immobile and she doesn't have hard CC. That is the main reason why she is not above other mages. Although Hestia and Deny are also immobile, they have hard CC, which Morgan does not. The fact that Morgan can deal similar levels of damage and has better poke potential on a lower cooldown is sort of irrelevant when they have hard CC and are able to like actually lock people down rather than just poke people out. Her niche is just that she's better in the early game and the mid game. The team fights late game she just does not excel at and she just dies. I don't know. There's some people that really like playing her, and you can make her work, but the main reason that she's down so low is just that she doesn't have hard CC. After that, I'm actually going to be putting Arthur into my just bad tier list. Okay, so here's the thing about Arthur. When you look at his kit, it's very good. However, when it actually gets down to it, the cleave changes really hurt him, okay? He is not able to clear wave as fast as he used to be, like anywhere near as fast with his buff anymore, which means that he isn't able to power farm up to an early lead the way that he used to. In addition to that, when you like fight into an Achilles who just has a better passive and better base stats, it's really hard to fight. Like, you'll usually die before you kill them. And if you're going even, it just doesn't work out. Even though that he's got certain immunities and all that, and it helps out a bit, I still can't help but feel like he just doesn't, he doesn't have as much, like, not even, Heracles, right? Heracles is just tankier. Whether or not, Arthur can, like, 1v1 people sometimes, I don't know. It doesn't feel as easy to do that on Arthur anymore. I can't put my finger on why. The main reason that I would suggest using him is that he's very easy to use. He's easy to understand. It allows you to, like, really excel and, like, propel yourself into a higher elo if you're, like, trying. But I wouldn't say that it lasts too much. I haven't seen an Arthur in a long time. Anyhow, after Arthur, I'm going to be putting Dracula as the worst character in the game. So here's the thing about Dracula, right? So he's a melee carry. That is his very first problem. Melee carries are not good anymore. After that, you get the idea that he is supposed to be this some sort of drain tank that builds a lot of damage, right? However, his base stats are that of an assassin, not a warrior. This means that even though that he is technically supposed to be healing himself back up and building a high amount of damage, you have to, like, limit that. If you want to survive and do anything, you have to build at least, like, 1 or 2 tank items in order to survive a burst so that you actually have a chance to, like, use your own kit to kill them, right? Or to, like, heal back up and, like, do your stupid little DPS thing with his abilities. The problem is that, let's see, what is Dracula's problem? He just, I don't know, man. He just doesn't heal enough, or, like, even if he does heal enough, he doesn't have CC, so you just kind of die anyways, and his mobility is kind of, like, slow. I mean, it's still good, but you have to build all these, like, weird hybrid items, and you have to build, like, all of the, Siphon Damnations, and, like, all of the, what do you call it? Bloodthirsty and Advanced Bloodthirsty. Like, you want that. It kind of, like, really limits his build paths. If you, like, I don't know, like, you can't really build him as, like, this one-shot machine because he doesn't have CC to make sure that he's safe and doesn't die while he does it. And you can't build him as, like, this drain tank, right? Where he's got, like, a lot of tank items. And he's just able to use his healing to, like, make sure he sticks in the fight long enough to kill them, right? Because that means that he doesn't have as much healing because it scales off of his attack power. So you have to do this weird thing where you want a lot of HP and you want a lot of damage. But, like, Frosty Bites and Corpse Party and all of these, like, weird things that can, like, help with that, they can only get you so far, and late game you still don't have very much armor if you're, like, building around that damage, and marksmen are still going to 100 to 0 you. Like, you don't have a chance. I don't know. There's just a lot wrong with him. Or I wouldn't say a lot wrong with him, but he's just got, like, some basic components about him that just don't work. Like, if he doesn't have CC, why not make him, like, a warrior so that he has enough base strength to, like, survive a little bit, or survive long enough, like, as he's supposed to do it. And if he's an assassin, why not give him, like, CC on something so that he just doesn't die when he tries to hop in on somebody, right? Either way, in a late game team fight, he has a lot of AoE. But usually he'll just die before he gets a chance to pop his ult because of the delay on it. I don't know. I don't know what to do too that would, like, really fix him in the first place. I don't know. Anyhow, that'll finish up my tier list. Thank you guys all for watching. Comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. I don't know. it was fun making it, for sure. Anyhow, as always, I'll be leaving timestamps in the description so that you don't have to listen to me ramble all the time. I did try to fix the resolution a bit. I hope that'll help out a bit. Anyhow, see you guys in...
Looking up to me and talking down. Don't you see I am the big man?